Well, hey guys, welcome back. We're sitting out here, gonna have an audience here soon. Brought some bales out to the cows this morning, and it's officially mud season here in Northwest Ohio. So I just wanted to make a quick video. Won't be long. We are accepting our pre-orders for chickens for this year. We charge $5 a pound for our broiler chickens. So $5 a pound for a chicken, are you crazy? Yeah, that's what we hear from people. Not out loud, right? But that's what we hear. That's what we see their reaction is. Not what we hear out of their mouths, but that's what we see their reaction is. And they're not wrong. The methods that we use, the feed that we use, it's not conventional prices because they're not conventional methods. We are very big on the quality of the finished product is largely dictated by the treatment that the animals get throughout their life, as well as the quality of feed that the animals get. So we get them as day-old chicks, usually overnighted through the mail, and as long as the Postal Service does their job, and which in the past we've had issues with, and we've ended up having 50 birds die within the first 18 hours, right? Because they're not kept out of the weather and stuff, because we're getting them shipped earlier in the year to where it's still fairly cool overnight, and they ship them packed enough to where they stay warm, but not too packed where they will suffocate themselves, because they'll do that. So we get them as day-old chicks, and depending on the type of weather we're seeing, we'll raise them in a brooder, which has heat lamps and things in it, until they are fully feathered to where they can be out on pasture without dying overnight from cold temperatures. So that's usually 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the time of year. So then they go out and it's a mobile shelter called a chicken tractor that we use, that we put them in, and barring any issues with predators, which we always have. Last year was really bad. We lost a bunch of birds last year from predators. But barring any issues with predators, we'll raise out 100 birds per batch, and then butcher, and then sell for, again, $5 a pound. And it sounds like an extreme amount of money for a chicken, right? When you can go to the store and buy it for much less than that, which I have figures here. I'll go over that here. So this is the USDA's monthly. What's she doing? This is the USDA's monthly poultry cost sheet, or poultry report. National Monthly Pasture-Raised Poultry Report for the month of December 22nd or 27th, 2024. So the direct-to-consumer pasture-raised poultry versus retail price for a whole chicken carcass. Retail price, which are conventional prices from the Natural Retail Poultry and Egg Activity reports, are $1.68 per pound for a whole carcass chicken. So $1.68 a pound. I don't know how well you saw that, but either way, you just have to take my word for it, or you can go look this up. It's free. But they do it for poultry, for beef, everything to do with the USDA. Grain costs, if you want to see that, it's all available. So the average retail price for a whole chicken carcass is $1.68. Now that is generally not going to be a true pasture-raised animal. You gotta watch out for greenwash marketing these days, because everything is pastured chicken, or free range or something like that, which is the same as it always has been, except that, some places might provide a little hole on the wall to allow the chickens to go out and then come back in, but they're not going to go out because they're given everything that they could possibly want inside. The price range for a pasture-raised chicken is $6.39 per pound on the low end to $11.60 per pound on the high end. And the average, which is what I'm going to be going off of, is $10.64 a pound. And obviously that's not the average of $6.39 and $10.60. That is a weighted average, and they take three regions of the U.S. So you've got central, east, and western U.S. So the values are different between each one of those. But either way, the average is $10.64 a pound. So we're charging $5 a pound. And to go over some of our costs, and I'm all for transparency, right? I would much rather pay, personally, I would much rather pay more for any product if I know exactly where every dollar's going. And instead of just hiding all these costs and stuff, which is essentially what all of commercial ag does, is it's all hidden costs through government subsidies and things like that. So our 2024 meat bird costs for our farm in Northwest Ohio, we buy day-old chicks. We bought 150 chicks last year, averaged $2.58 per chick. Each one of these birds, we calculate over the 8-week life of the bird, they consume about 14 pounds of feed per bird. So we buy our Kalmbach organic 20% starter grower feed. It is 71 cents a pound. So if you take 71 cents a pound of feed price times 14 pounds per bird, it comes out to $9.94 of feed cost per bird over the life of the bird at 8 weeks. So if you're buying a 5-pound bird at retail costs at $1.68 a pound, you're buying that bird for, I didn't do the math real quick, but roughly the same, if not a little bit less than what our feed costs are. These large commercial poultry operations, they get, 15, 20,000 birds at a time. And when you're running those kinds of volumes, your margins are very, very, very tight, but you have a lot more volume of product going through the doors. So that's how they work, obviously. And plus, when they're buying the volume of feed they are, and the quality of feed that they're buying as well, they're not buying organic or non-GMO feed. They're buying the cheapest feed they can get their hands on, government subsidized and extremely cheap. And again, it's all controlled cost by the government, and those costs savings don't get passed down to small farms like us. So we deal directly with that, so our prices are higher. The feed that we buy for ours is a very, very high quality feed. It's a 20% protein feed, so they get a high volume of protein or high amount of protein as they're growing. And then when we run them through our pasture, we move them multiple times a day, especially as they get older. When they're younger, they can do once a day, but as they get older, we move them twice a day. And we're also putting electric fence netting around them as we move them in the shelters too, because we've gone out and you've had dead birds pulled halfway through a piece of chicken wire, because the coons will reach in, and the chickens they're stupid, so they come up and they're like, oh, what's that? And so the coon will grab a hold of that chicken and physically pull it through the chicken wire piece by piece. They are brutal, so we have to take extra measures, because every time we lose one of those birds, that $2.58 of initial value plus however much feed we've given that bird up until that time is then divvied up into the remaining bird costs. We've got to cover that cost somehow. So our cost per bird at an 8-week-old bird, which is butcher time, we have $12.52 of our own cost in that bird. That's just direct input costs. Indirect costs such as electricity for our heat lamps, well water, the processing electricity, and electricity for our ice machine to give us ice, that isn't factored into this $12.52 per bird cost. The gas and maintenance costs for our ATV to haul water out to the birds on pasture, that's not incurred in this cost. The cost of the shelters, the chicken tractors, the electric fencing, the electric fence energizers, the predator traps that we buy to live trap coons and possums, the butchering equipment, the shrink bags that we use, or the freezer quality labels that we put on the shrink bags after we've done it, the cost of ice, the machine that we have, and again, the electricity that goes into that, the butchering labor for us, and we always have help, family and stuff comes over. We don't pay them, but it's still a labor cost that's essentially incurred by us because the daily chore labor that we run, and it's 20 minutes a day for 8 weeks. So factor all that in, and it's Monday through Sunday, right? It's 7 days a week. I mean, they don't care if it's July 4th, Sunday morning, raining, thunderstorm, they don't care. It still has to be done. And then for the Williams County sales tax that we live in is 7.25%. So we pay quite a bit of indirect costs that go into that as well. So when we're trying to sell an 8-week-old bird that's, say, 5 pounds for $5 a pound, that's a $25 valuation that we place on that bird. So then when you have a cost per bird of $12.52, we're at that point at a 5-pound bird, we're going to make $12.52 on that bird. We're not marketing this for everybody. We would love to have more orders every year than chickens available. That way we could keep scaling this up. We only do about 150 to 200 birds a year right now, and I'd love to scale that up, but it's just one of those things, right? So it's not for everybody, but I wish we could bring this to market at a much lower cost, because then we would get more exposure to more people. Our chicken has a very strong chicken flavor, and something that you don't get at the store because it's largely trimmed off, right, in commercial packing plants. But you actually get fat on our chickens, because when our chickens are rotated through pasture, we go out and we move that chicken tractor on a new pasture, and then we give them new feed. We move them twice a day, so they get new feed and fresh water twice a day when they're bigger. And when we do that, we put feed in there, and the majority of the birds will not go to the feed right away because they're still busy scratching through the new grasses and stuff. It's not uncommon for chickens to eat clover, but the grasshoppers and the spiders and all the little bugs that's in our pasture, the chickens go after those first because that's the most natural protein for them. So our chickens are getting nutrients and proteins and other things that that your commercial birds would never dream of getting. So in sunlight, they're out in the sun, they're exposed to the sun. The fat that's on them, it's a yellow fat, and we've had people say, well, these birds have fat on them. Yeah, they do. That's natural about them. It's that's the birds that you buy in the store. They're so lean, there's no fat on them, because all that fat means extra nutrition that's on that bird that can be a cost savings for a commercial operation, right? So if you could save a pound of feed per bird by keeping them leaner and not having any fat on them, that's a massive increase in margin for them if you're doing 20,000 birds at a time. But we're not feeding our birds anymore to give them that fat through feed costs. We're giving them that through their pasture rotations and all of the natural, insect proteins and things like that they're getting, and they eat a lot of insects. So I just wanted to, like I said, I'm okay with being transparent. I mean, it's not like we kill it making tons of money, butchering these birds and selling them. Although it may seem like that by the cost of the bird, but those are our expenses. That was for 2024, and it looks like 2025 we're paying quite a bit more per chick. So chick prices have gone up. I guarantee feed prices are going to go up, which is why part of the reason what we're doing is we're planting our own small grains out on pasture that we're going to be harvesting come next year, and hopefully going to start raising our own grains for chicken feed, because that's obviously our biggest input cost, raising these chickens. And I can remember when feed was in the mid 40 cents a pound for organic feed, and now it's it's almost double that. It probably will be double that this year. So expenses are going up. That's just how it is. But again, I just wanted to make a video to be transparent as far as what we have in each bird, what we had in each bird for 2024. And again, we're not even penciling out every individual cost going into this bird, just the direct cost, the cost of the chick and the food cost. Small scale like this, you don't do it to make money. Initially we were doing this for our own food, and then said, hey, if we're doing it for ourselves, let's offer the abundance that we get to other people so they can enjoy it. So that's what we've started to do, and that's what we're going to continue to do, even though we're not making any money at it. I mean, it's a loss every year on the farm. So, but hopefully when these guys back here start our breeding stock of Dexter cattle, that'll once they get really pumping calves out every year and we kind of get a better handle on the cattle operation, we'll have beef and all that stuff too. But anyways, I just wanted to communicate that with everybody. That way everybody doesn't think we're so crazy. I mean, we are crazy, but we're not, we're not getting filthy rich off of charging $5 a pound for chickens. So that's just what it is. So we would encourage everybody to obviously try one. We would love for you guys to try one and give us honest feedback on, and then just the comparison, like your guys' idea on what your ideas are for like flavor, the meat quality that you see from our bird versus a bird that you buy at Walmart or Costco or whatever you get. So, but so that's it. Appreciate you guys, and I think I'm gonna go inside where the wood burner's at and warm up there and continue drinking my coffee. So again, thanks for watching. If you guys are local and wanna try a bird, come and try it.